Okay, so the last few weeks, I've been dealing with insomnia, and I thought I'd do something productive, let's say. Well, we'll see how productive it ends up being, but with the time I have. That's why I'm posting it this at like 1 a.m. in the morning. When I had the intro to this channel, I mentioned, I mentioned having struggled with suicide. And I wanted to talk a little bit about that, and a little bit about the reasons behind that, and really get down to being open about who I am, what I've been going through, and really enable us, those of you in my life currently, those of you in my life in the future, to have a common understanding of where I'm coming from. Now, I want to make it really clear before I start talking about some of this stuff that I understand that there is a difference between being open with someone, allowing them into a dialogue with you or into community with you, and being accepting of someone. So as I'm talking, I really want you guys to understand that I understand there's a difference, and that I'm looking for openness, not acceptance. I'm going to read you something I wrote about a year after my last suicide attempt. If you have any questions, please let me know. This is a subject I feel really passionately about because a lot of people don't have a next conversation after they decide to commit suicide. So I feel really lucky. And this is just how I was feeling at the time and kind of what I realized through it. I felt broken. A hemorrhaging black hole had appeared in my soul and I was drowning. What made my daily hell all the more complete was the overwhelming sense of being alone. I would walk through the days looking for some escape, anything. Finding yourself on the top of a building, waiting for the campus traffic to die down so that you can jump, was a twofold experience for me. On the one hand, there was the internal pain, the thing that had driven me up to the roof in the first place, the constant numbing pulse of all my problems that I was ill-equipped to handle. The second was anger. Anger I hadn't even recognized until I stood on the rooftop. Seething rage at the humanity bustling below me mounted inside me, pushing me closer to the edge of the building. Why hadn't anyone seen me? The last year I'd been a part of this community, and no one had bothered to notice I clearly wasn't all right. Co-workers, friends, teachers, spiritual leaders, no one in my life had noticed as I emotionally bled out around them. I noticed them. I was one of the first people to notice a missing face amongst the group. Then why did no one notice me? The pain of invisibility churned inside me, building to the rage that now held me captive on the rooftop. I stood there for several hours waiting. My phone didn't ring and no one disturbed me. It got cold and my legs started to fall asleep. Slowly my anger lessened, and I took a couple of awkward steps backwards. Somewhere in the middle of my churning internal battle, pressure had been eased. That question that just a few hours ago propelled me forward now seemed to be building a buffer between me and the ledge. The why. I needed that answer before I could leap. I needed to know if I was truly alone and my anger was justified. I would wait, I decided, as I suddenly found myself back in the stairwell, headed to my room. This wasn't a second chance. I fully intended to be back on that roof once I had my answer. But somehow I'd been convinced peace wouldn't be mine if I went to my grave without that answer. The question why, now morphing into several topic questions as my intellectual mind set to work on the problem of how to find this peace some part of me demanded before I could release myself from this daily hell. Why? Anger screamed in my mind. Why does no one notice? Are they blind? Intellect would respond. I waited in the darkness of the stairwell until a group of students walked by, literally pressing myself up against the cold cement of the building to better be hidden in the shadows. That's when it hit me, as my muscles flexed to keep me hidden in the embrace of the shadows. What if I hide too well? After this experience, another journey started. The journey of those questions. I found a lot of different answers from a lot of different sources. Whether I was too much of a coward to actually jump, or if my anger and curiosity gave me a purpose to live a few moments more, I don't think that's important. What is important is that if you've ever been where I've been, or you feel yourself heading down the path of the dark abyss of isolation, hear this. Don't wait. Ask for help. Asking for help is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of humanity. You aren't invisible, and it turns out neither was I. The reason I found myself on a rooftop, that internal pulse of numbing despair, was that from just before puberty up until that point, I had been struggling with some, what we'll term confusion. That might piss a couple of you off, but some confusion about who I was, and I was at a Christian school with not a lot of support, finding myself out to be attracted to the same sex, being gay, and I didn't know what to do. I knew what I thought all the teachings and morals I'd been given said I should do, and that was somehow translated in my mind to taking myself, use some sports lingo, out of the game before I became an influence for the bad or negative. What I understand now is that that pain was coming from shame. Being ashamed of having an issue, being ashamed of needing help. And I had a really good talk with one of my brothers, one of the wisest people that I know, about the difference between living out of love and conviction and living out of shame, and how shame keeps you from being who you really are, and interacting with the community, or with humanity really, how you were meant to. I'm a creationist, I'm a theist, I believe in divine order, and being in a place of complete shame kept me from being who I was. And once I started a journey on first accepting who I was without the subconscious or even conscious desire to then move right into changing who I was, I started to live in more of a personal conviction and loving place. Love for myself, love for other human beings, and it has been a slow journey into a astounding peace. And as I said at the beginning of this video, I'm not looking for acceptance, I'm looking for openness. I want this to be a journey I can take with all of us together. I don't want my shame about what I thought I should be living as to be keeping me from living out who I really am. So yeah, coming to an acceptance of that and coming to a point where it's more important that I am loving to my neighbor, metaphorically and physically to my neighbor, and giving to humanity, and about the betterment of the quality of our lives, and about making it my purpose to be about the welfare and the psychological health of others rather than what that looks like, and allowing other people to be in charge of their own journey, because that's really what it's supposed to be. I'm in charge of my convictions and living them out, and you're in charge of yours. But there should be an open dialogue about what those convictions are, and there shouldn't be a judgment about, well, you have this conviction and I don't, or so on and so forth. So, just to reiterate, if you're at a place of suicide where you think your only option or the best option is to quit, to stop, to get out of here, to not be able to go on, there is always another choice. And it's usually the better one, if not always. I'm not a health professional, so I can't speak to the real psychological issues that goes on with depression and things like that, but I do know that facing it alone is usually fighting a lost battle. We build societies and communities because we are a social creature. We need each other. We thrive when we feed off of each other. And asking for help is not a weakness, it's a sign of humanity. Being open is not a defiance. It's a seeking of that piece of humanity that wants to be in relation with other people. So, again, I'm asking for openness, not acceptance. I am wanting to build a journey of love and of well-being and of individual responsibility, of agency for oneself. So, that is what I meant when I said I've been struggling with suicide. This is just one aspect of who I am. I am the same person that I've always been. Now you're just a little bit closer to understanding all the different things that have gone on in my life. I hope that we can stay on this journey together. And I hope, and I know that if we do, it will be an astounding ride.